Don't ever give an ultimatum. Never give a woman an ultimatum. It's like, either you're with me or there's no friendship. You've got to make it feel like she's missing an opportunity here, that she is making the decision, and she hasn't said anything. It's like you saying, I'm going to go.
The woman might say, this guy's cool, and he'd be somebody that, I potentially could rely on for emotional support or whatever, but there isn't, that physical attraction there. And and I would be embarrassed to show my girlfriends him. Because, that happens a lot too.
Yes, it does. It does very much. And I have had many men who've been on the receiving end of that for me. Okay, so I'm aware. So a few things that you can do here is, I always say to guys, look, if that's all she's giving you, work with it. Don't be a dum-dum and say, well, no, it's like we're going to be together, or that's it. No, you use it as a gateway, as a way through, okay, an opportunity. It's a bit like a lot of women, like they go on dates with guys and they dress up, and the guy just wants to sleep with her. That's all he wants to do. He just wants to get her back home and say anything to her, anything she wants to hear, and he wants to get her back home. Does that mean that women should say, well, I'm not going on that date with you because that's all you want me for? No, we go on that date because we realize there's an opportunity to get him to see us beyond, just sex. And we use it as an opportunity. We use our looks as an opportunity. Great. We've got the date with the guy. Yes, that's all his intentions are for now. But when I run my game on him and so forth, he'll start to develop feelings, all the rest of it. Women have their game too. So men have to just be very, very pragmatic here. Okay, again, not using emotions, going back to good chess moves and say, okay, that's what I'm getting now. I'm going to find a way in there. Okay, she's going to change. He's going to change her mind. Now, how they do it, that's the thing, right? That's where they need advice. That's where they need a skill. They can't just sort of think one day she'll change her mind. No, it doesn't work like that. You have to actively do things for her to become attracted to you. But you have to remember, the guys who are listening to this, there's an opportunity there for you to spend lots of time with this woman. You've gained access, okay? You've got a lot of time with this woman. Does she fancy you right now? No. What, you're going to cut off that access? No. You're going to start running game, long game with her. So that's my answer to that.
What happens, though, when she gets a boyfriend and you're still in the friend zone?
So you shouldn't let that happen if you know what you're doing and you're running long game. You wouldn't necessarily. She would be attracted to you by sort of quite early stages. I don't think guys should be in that friend zone for years. I'm not saying that. Maybe a few months. But there's classic mistakes that guys do. They become her emotional tampon. They become her agony uncle. They start giving her bloody dating advice and things. They think, oh, I'm being clever here. She doesn't suspect anything. No, that's not how you do it. I actually have sort of 5 ways to get out of the friend zone. Because what you've got to do is you've actually got to you've got to get in the friend zone. If you're in the friend zone, I shouldn't say you've got to get in the friend zone. If you're in the friend zone, you've got to do 5 steps to get out of the friend zone in order to then build attraction. So you've got to be in it, but then you've got to get out of it. You can't do it within the friend zone. Okay, so now we're getting a little bit kind of like anorak here. So we go quite a deep dive into this, I should say.
I understand.
So the first thing you want to do is you want to become suddenly less available. You give her a lot of time for those, whether it's a month, 3 months, 2 months. Okay, let's not get too sort of focused on how long it is, because it is slightly different from each person, and it depends what kind of friendship it is, how close they are, the proximity and all this. So I don't want to get onto how long, but at some point you want to start becoming less available. Your time's actually precious. She's not your main priority anymore, and she'll notice something's changed. And then it's the first step is she will start valuing the time she has with you. Okay, so she'll start looking forward to seeing you a little bit more than she did when, you were just on tap. You were there, ready for her whenever she needed. So you're pulling away a little bit, not being hostile, not being horrible, just you've got other things now. You're not taking her phone calls so much. You're not keeping in touch as much. And then again, so when you do see each other, she'll really value that time a lot more. The second thing is that you want her to get curious about you, because that's the problem. When you're in the friend zone, she's not curious about you. She second guesses everything you do. So you want to become that guy who she's almost like getting to know again. I didn't know that about you. Really, you think that? Well, that's interesting. So it's kind of like she's getting to know you again, and you have this like you're the man of mystery. You have this element of surprises. She second guessed you, and now she's kind of intrigued. So that's the second stage. And the third stage is by that point you want to start talking about other women, and you want to talk about them sexually, okay? But it's got to be done very carefully, this part. So you want to basically say to there's this girl at work. She's so boring, like the most boring person. She hasn't got like a cool personality like you, but oh my God, do I want to sleep with her? So you're putting little jealousy plot lines there, little things where, she's starting to, you're reminding her, I'm a sexual creature, not a monk. I'm a sexual creature. I get laid. I like women. And this is what's happening in my life right now. Women respond quite well to this. Women kind of like, okay, so he's talking about that girl, but not me. This is very, very subtle hairline shifts, by the way. And I am sort of, for the sake of time, I'm sort of jumping a little bit.
No,
but each category, it's like a lot of kind of like techniques and things that you want to include. So the fourth one is then you want to start directing your compliments towards her. You can only do this once you've done the first 3 steps. She's got to be interested in you. Now, she's not maybe attracted to you, but she's interested. Something's changed. So then you can maybe give her double-sided compliments or stuff. You can then start maybe, validating her. I like what you're wearing. That actually suits you today. Or something like, but if you wore this, you'd look really sexy, I think, or hot. So you're sexing up the compliments, but you're not. It's not like you're telling her you're so sexy and hot.
Mm-hmm.
That makes sense. What we call double-sided compliments and positive validation. And then when you've done that, you get to the 5th stage, and that's when it's kind of like that's when you have to make your move. And it's like almost, you have to show it like you've just realized that you're attracted to her. You can't go in with a line saying, for a few weeks, I've been harboring these feelings and keeping them secret from you. You don't do that. You want to make it like a thunderbolt. It's like a thunderbolt. It's like, okay, something's changed. And it's just the way you look at her. And she might start saying, what is it? What's up? And this is when you've got to really be able to spot the signs, though. You've got to be good at this part. Because there's girls who, and I've been with a guy, and I can feel he's making his move, and I just end it. I end the thread. I don't want to know why he's looking at me. I won't bring it up. It's not existing. It doesn't exist. But if a woman's like, "What are you looking at?" and she's kind of like that playful, not almost flirting, that's a good sign. She wants to explore that. What's happening here? Okay, and then you can actually make the move. But if she's kind of like, you're not sure, and she's like, what's going on? Then you can kind of say, you know what? You can have this conversation with her rather than make a move, which is, I've become, I think, attracted to you. And, I really value our friendship. And I don't want to ruin this friendship. And I just can't be with someone, that I'm attracted to at the same time and be in a friendship. So what you've got to do here is you don't want to ever give an ultimatum. Never give a woman an ultimatum. It's like, either you're with me or there's no friendship. You've got to make it feel like she's missing an opportunity here, that she is making the decision, and she hasn't said anything. It's like you saying, I'm going to go because I'm become attracted to you. And it's happened very, very quickly. You want to give it that romance element also. It's happened very, very quickly. I always saw you as a dorky kid sister I never had. And now I'm attracted to you, and I don't want to be in I don't want to be in this position, so I'm going to go. So you want to make her feel like, oh my God, he's going, and at least let me just maybe have one experience with him before he goes. Okay, so it's a bit of a high risk, high reward, but the alternatives, there's not many. This is the best one. And the most important thing is, again, you want to tap into her emotional realm at this point. You can't ever persuade a woman to attract. A lot of guys go into sort of logical persuasion mode. They start trying to tap into her rational kind of realm, rational buying temperature. I call it like, oh, we'd be really good and we really get on and, we care about each other. And no, that's not going to work. You have to create the feeling, the moment. You're about to walk out that door, not because you're upset with her or angry, but it's just like, you can't do this. You don't even want to put her in that position. And then suddenly she feels like, oh, hold on, I've got some control over this situation. She doesn't want you to take the opportunity away from her. So again, it's not about tapping into using logical persuasion, but tapping into her emotional realm. And so I call that like the 5 stages of getting out of the friend zone and getting sort of back. So you've got to get in the friend zone first, get out of the friend zone, and then come back. If that makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
It does. And I can see how those steps could be effective, especially step 3, where I think women are just very naturally competitive. And the second there's like mention of another woman, it spikes that in her. My question is, because I've always defined the friend zone as a situation in which a man has already made his intentions clear, like he has told her that he's attracted to her and he sort of made that move. I don't know if you define the friend zone as the same thing, and then she rejects it a bit, but is willing to accept him as a friend. And I think that's where men kind of get stuck in it, for years, potentially.
I think that's one type of friend zone. I think the most common friend zone is just kind of like, he's trying to flirt a little bit. She knows, he kind of fancies me, but, he's just kind of like, they've got something in common. Maybe they're both single parents or something, and they're using, and she kind of needs him for that, and he's using that as an opportunity to kind of hang out with her. I've seen that quite a lot. No, I think I think the one that's much more complicated is not the one where he said that this is how I feel. It's the ones who are sort of playing around, and then they have a couple of drinks, and then they sort of they send you stupid text messages like 11 o'clock at night. God, you think, God, stop sending me that song or something. And it's kind of like, come on, I know you fancy me a bit. They haven't actually said it. That makes sense.
Yeah.
Those ones can last a long time, years, and they go with other women and stuff, and it makes no difference. Not playing it correctly.
So it's guys kind of not pulling the trigger, so to speak, as far as actually making a move.
Yeah, they don't. They make these semi moves. One evening you're having a couple of drinks, and you can feel them sort of flirting with you, touching your arm or something. You're just like, please stop. It's not exactly a move though. At the same time, been in that position quite a lot.
Mm-hmm. I think usually friend zones are more of a thing that happen like in high school and college. Mm-hmm. They're not. I don't. Maybe in a work situation, but typically, you don't see the kind of those orbiters.
Right.
Because maybe they met in high school. They had some kind of common,
that pulled them together.
Like they were both in theater or something like that, and then they ended up, becoming friends. But secretly, that he would be into her. Because I've dated people who've had guy friends, and they've told me like never in a million years. But he's great when it comes to if I need anything.
Problem is with the friend zone, from what I've realized, and it's very, very dangerous if guys don't get out. I think the guys get absolutely besotted and fall in love with the woman. It's not like, for me, every friend zone situation I've been in, or men who have talked to me about their friend zone situation, they don't just want to sleep with the woman. That was what it started out as. But because they spend this copious amount of time with her, they start falling in love. I can't tell you how many men are totally in love with one of their female friends because they've got to see she's totally herself. They've got to see her neurotic side. They've got to see her funny side, every side. She's got no filter up. There's nothing there. She doesn't care about him. That's, he probably thinks, I know the real so-and-so, I get really into her. I'm really close. I can see the vulnerable side of her also. They don't realize that, she acts like that in front of guys she's not attracted to. When she's a guy she's attracted to, she puts the whole, filtered Instagram version of herself up. But guys have to be, please, any guys listening out there, careful of the friend zone. You might start off thinking, I've got this under control. I just want to bang the girl. Yeah, give it a few months, start developing feelings. A lot of times, start falling in love with her. Seen it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
What are some of your tactics or about, for example, like Instagram or Facebook or something like that, as far as approaching on those mediums versus dating apps?
I think they're better. I have been approached, like I have had people DM me, and a lot of them are famous actually. That's quite an interesting thing, is that famous people, celebrities, they sort of go via Instagram more. And I don't mind it. I don't know why. I don't mind a guy talking to me on my Instagram. It's an extension of dating apps, yeah. But it's not like me on the dating app going, pick me again, So I'm cool with it. And I think a lot of people who are more like my kind of age find that this is a socially acceptable kind of dating app. It's not creepy or weird. I would say to the guys out there, if any of them are into older women, you want to go through the DMs on Instagram and things like that. It's more socially accepted for our age.
I think that's good advice. I mean, I met my boyfriend on Facebook through a DM, through like mutual friends. Because that's the other good thing I think about Facebook is that at least that you're in the same area. Instagram's a little tricky, because you don't know where the location is. Usually that's not shown. I mean, a few people will put it on their bio, but that's about it. And then you're talking about, long distance communication. And that can be tough, I think, for the average person that doesn't travel very much. The other thing about Facebook I want to add is that you can see mutual friends very easily. So I think that adds almost like a touch of warm environment, like what we were talking about earlier. It's almost like a hybrid warm environment potentially because their friends and families because that pops right up for you.
For sure, 100%. But I want to, the only caveat is, are people still using Facebook? I mean, everyone I know uses Facebook like me. I've got my official fan page on there, but me, it's just, I'm part of these groups.
That's what Todd said. You made the same point Todd makes. Yeah. Who's on Facebook anymore?
Yeah. Everyone's on it to be on these groups. Those groups are amazing. I love Facebook groups are the best.
Yeah.
But you can do Facebook groups. You have a common interest.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I
don't
think I'm going to meet anyone on my gerbil Facebook page.
Never know.
That wasn't my intention anyway. Gerbil game.
No, I think that's a good idea. I think, what's your perspective, though? Because with Instagram, it's more of a woman's platform. There's not that many guys, like your average guy, who has like a good Instagram page. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. No, a lot of guys are putting a lot of time and investment in their Instagram pages. I've been seeing that recently. Like really going to, putting out all the best photographs. I just find that such a put off, by the way, guys posing and on their, their water, what do you call it? Those their speed boats and stuff in Dubai, their cigars and stuff. It's like, oh God, it's awful. It does work on a lot of women, unfortunately.
So what would you recommend for a guy like to get on Instagram? What kind of photos would he have that would be attractive to, most women?
What kind of photographs?
Yeah, or just what would the Instagram look like, for example? What would you recommend?
You want to put like a lot of people in it, a lot of activities, because the thing is, when someone approaches you on social media, the first thing you're thinking of is this person a loner weirdo? That's you don't think about that when someone approaches you in real life, like, is this person a loner? But as soon as they approach you on social media, especially if they don't have a big following or lots of friends, then you immediately think, is this person a loner? But if you have lots of pictures of you with friends at parties, just doing kind of like social stuff, that's always going to help. Dog pictures, always having I think it sounds really like cliche, but it is. People like to talk about their dogs. If she's a dog person, you're a dog person, that's the first thing people, I love your dog, what's his name, blah, blah, blah. People love talking about their dogs. So having a dog in it's a good one. Just showing like you're just active, doing stuff. Putting one that's like a point of intrigue, something interesting that doesn't make sense. It could be just a strange picture, not a strange one of you, but just like, what's that about? Like, why would you put that there? So it can create some intrigue. But, again, I have to go back to what I originally said, which is I encourage guys to just forget all these things, and go and approach. It's always, you're going to have better chance if you, unless you've got this fantastic Instagram page, the best photographs, you're really good looking, then go and approach. Keep saying that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I would argue that when it comes to dating apps, if you are one of those top 10% guys, that's an excellent tool to utilize because they can just clean up there. But the reality is that most guys don't fit into that category.
Yeah, but also you have to remember something, that even if you're a good looking guy and you've over relied on the apps and meeting women that way, you're still going to have to talk to her. Now, what approach does is it sharpens your skills, sharpens your reflexes, your mental reflexes, to be able to go and approach and just be like that with the banter and just be able to come back. You sharpen your skills.
Mm-hmm.
When someone's just like all day and then they go meet and, they're a bit dry. The person's a bit dry. They're not that funny. They're not that engaging because, they've become lazy. So that's why even those guys who can clean up on Instagram and dating apps, I've met a few of them. Dry, boring in real life. So boring. No character, no charm. They need to also be approaching and working on those conversation interaction skills,
mm-hmm.
flirting skills.
Yeah.
Guys out there, don't underestimate flirting, okay? Sexual tensions, attraction building. God, this is an art which, you have that skill set. You'll clean up more than the guys who are on Instagram on their speedboats and their cigars.
Well, I guess it would depend on what your goals are. If you're talking about cleaning up as far as, because Emily and I, for example, we just do not promote hookup culture on our channel. It's just something that we don't feel like is healthy, especially if you're looking to long-term pair bond at some point in your life. Not necessarily marriage, but, having a long-term partner.
Are you Christians? Are you Is this like a Christian?
No.
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 The podcast is not.
No, not at all.
Okay.
No. Actually, it's...
You come from more of that psychologist perspective as to why you recommend it.
Yeah, so what the studies have shown is that, and a lot of this, Kezia, is just common sense, is that the more partners you have, the harder it is to then just be with one person for the rest of your life. So if a guy has had 100 women, then all of a sudden meeting, and she could be a drop dead gorgeous, it's still something where there's a good chance that he's either going to want to cheat or not actually stay in that relationship as far as monogamously. And then the other thing with hookup culture is, for women, it's potential violence and also STDs, of course. So our goal for our audience is, so our target audience, or the guys that are pretty much watching us, is between kind of 25 and 35, is to kind of help these guys get to the point where they're able to engage and then create long-term relationships with women. And so I'm just, wondering if your kind of advice is kind of tailored towards just kind of getting in the door, for either reason, because they just want to bring them back to their place and hook up, or would it look differently if they're talking about, if they're looking for kind of a long-term situation?
No, there wouldn't be much difference because he has to establish attraction. So a lot of guys were like, oh, but I want a girlfriend. I'm going to go really slow. I'm going to take it easy. I'm like, they sometimes forget to build attraction as a result. And then they get in the friend zone, or, she thinks he's not interested, or just wasn't any spark there because he was sort of thinking, I'm going to, I want to be slow with this one. I want it to be my girlfriend, things like that. I still say she must feel attracted to you. She has to. It's not an arranged marriage or something like that where you grow to sort of love each other. Or, you've got to feel attraction. So even if the guy is like building attraction on the first night, what he does as a result with that, what he does after that it can go either way. You can be like, well, I've had my fun, bye. I can't, I can't make that call. Everybody's an individual. That's
Sure.
their right to choose. But he also, it doesn't cancel out the possibility that he can have a relationship with her. My ex-husband, I mean, he's my ex-husband now, but we were together for like 10 years. There wasn't all this kind of waiting around stuff. I was attracted to him. It got serious pretty early on. I think I just show guys, look, this is how you talk to women, how you build a conversation with a woman. You stand out from the other guys and you can build attraction. And then what you want to do with that, that's up to you. I don't have any kind of like moral judgment on them or anything like that.
Yeah, no, I understand. And I'm actually not coming from a moral place either. It's more the fact that, so for, again, a lot of times people who advocate, kind of taking it sexually pretty quickly, is that you can do that. And then what I kind of heard you say is that then kind of make your decision, whether you kind of want to be one and done or, pursue something longer term, is that if you do that enough times, that it's going to be difficult to then get out of that cycle that exactly. And I'm wondering from a woman's perspective how that would, and you guys can answer this, I can't, how that would affect you if you had a genuine attraction for a guy, but then he left the next day and ghosted you. How?
Yeah, me personally, I mean, that's a huge reason why I've never participated in hookup culture, because I know that would be very hurtful. And I think that a lot of women have experienced that. And unfortunately, some of them still try to participate, and they try to go at it as my feelings just aren't going to be hurt, and they put a steel wall up. But I think that it's very hard for women to actually maintain that.
Or it's changed to, it's empowering.
Yeah, they try to trick themselves, but I think the majority of women would probably feel the way that I do, in that it would be very hurtful, because that's part of attraction, right? Is for women, you are genuinely like interested in him as a person. You're not just attracted to him physically. If it was just about that physical attraction, it wouldn't hurt as bad if you then had sex and then the next day he leaves. That just wouldn't hurt. You don't know if you like him as a person, but that's not the case. Women have already, kind of fallen for him to some degree. They like him as a person. And so, of course, it's hurtful when he leaves. What do you think, Kezia?
I can't disagree with that. Of course, if it's just physical attraction and then he doesn't call you back next day or whatever, you're not really rushing to call him either.
Mm-hmm.
But if you like someone, I mean, look, the way I see it, like, obviously, the longer you wait it out, the more the guy starts building feelings for you, and he's less likely to run away the next day. But not a guarantee. Not a guarantee. A lot of guys, they will pursue and they'll pursue, and they'll sleep with the woman eventually, and the woman then feels like, he really did like me, and because he maybe slept with me 3 times, and then he's bored,
Mm-hmm.
So I don't think it's black and white like that, but I do see where you're coming from there.
What's your personal take on that, as far as how you would, if you were attracted to a man, would you be open to an experience like that, or would you make him wait, 3 dates or whatever?
Oh, well, my situation's quite, I wouldn't say I don't know if it'd be helpful for me to share, because I don't think I'm not going to say I'm not like the average woman, but my position is very sort of,
both you guys are not like the average woman. Let's put that out there.
No, I'm not saying that. Look, my main thing in life was to have children. That was my main thing. I wanted a child, and I got a child. So now it's just like, for me, it's fun and games. It's like, I don't have this thing where, if the guy doesn't want to see me anymore, I say, well, there's the door, bye-bye. Because what do I need now? I have the child. I've done the marriage. I had like ridiculously the wedding of all weddings. I've done it, and I never wanted to even get married. I got married because we got pregnant, so we had to get married. He came from like a background where they're like, no, you must marry. You can't have a child out of marriage. And that wasn't actually me. I was like, well, I don't really care. I just want the baby. I want the child. So now I've got that. I don't have. If I was at my age or a bit younger and I didn't have children at this stage, it'd be completely different. So right now, I have a guy. If he says, I'm not really interested anymore, thank you, bye bye. Okay, sad. Yeah, it would have been nice if we could carry on, but I don't have that kind of like, oh my God, but I'm going to be forever alone if you leave me. When am I ever going to have children again? It's a very personal thing to me. Some women don't want children at all. They don't care. Some people they have children, but they want the husband. They want someone to be with them, and look after the children. I'm quite unique in that way, which is I only wanted children. I didn't want marriage and things like that.
So here's another follow-up question. Feel free to answer if you like. So
okay.
let's your child, they go off to uni, or they're just out of the house, and it's 10 years from now or whatever, and you're in your 50s. Have you thought about how that will affect you, or that, do you believe in the wall?
I think that I will be lonely, but I can't explain to you. It's hard for me to try and, if you've wanted something so much all your life, you wanted to have a child so much, and you've got it. It's kind of like the other stuff you've got. It's like so important to you that the other stuff is kind of like whatever almost. But I'm quite in a unique position here. I think most women probably don't think like this. No, really. I probably will be lonely. I'll get a few dogs. Well, I'll never get cats because I hate cats. I've got a lot of friends. Sorry, may I ask, do you have a child?
I have two.
I don't.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't have any children, and Emily has
it's
two.
It's different for women. I don't care what anyone says. It's different for women. So I think you'll understand where I'm coming from. Then it's like and I don't want to. I don't want to offend any women out there who are in their 40s and they don't have kids. But there's a massive difference between a divorced woman with a child in her 40s and a woman with cats and no children in her 40s. There is that people treat you differently. Society treats you differently. You're not kind of look like, oh, poor thing. You know what I mean? It's kind of like,
yeah,
it's different.
You'd be a spinster.
And it doesn't matter.
If you didn't have a child, you'd be a spinster potentially down the line.
Yeah, that word spinster, and it's like an old maid.
Yeah,
yep.
where guys don't get that.
No,
they don't. No one cares. No one cares if they have children or not. They do not care. It's like whatever. His attraction level doesn't really change because of that. But a woman, I actually realized that when I was single with a child, I actually did better. It was strange. It was kind of like, I think in your 30s, late 30s, they're a bit worried. Are you actually a bit desperate to have a child? I don't know. That's my personal take on that. As I said, I don't really help women, so we're going into this sort of territory where I don't help women. I don't advise women about anything. I only advise men.
No, I understand, and thanks for sharing that. I think just our audience would appreciate hearing, your story. I'm just interested because I've watched a lot of your videos, seen some of your debates, but back in 2006, how did you get into this? What is your background? How did you get interested in this? And then what did you do to, hone your skills?
2006, I was working for my family. They run a few companies and things. They do pretty okay, actually, my family. And I was kind of working for them, but not really. But I was a bit of a kind of drifter, you could say. And I was in a club, and this guy just approached me, and he said, "Oh, I work for a pickup company." I was like, "What?" And we're just looking for girls to come along on this weekend boot camp that we're doing to just give feedback to guys and their chat up lines. I was like, I'm one of those people who just go yeah, okay, let's do this, be fun. So the two things that I remember is that the first thing I remember was I was just a complete skeptic. I was like, look, unless there's attraction there or chemistry, then it's never going to happen. So when I went there to this boot camp, I was just like, wow, it was like, these really are techniques and things that work. I was fascinated. I was like, I always loved psychology, amateur psychologist, I should say. But, I was just always fascinated with social dynamics and things like that. So it's the first thing I noticed. And the second thing I noticed is that the girls that were there in this section giving feedback to the guys just were not giving real feedback. They were giving this kind of like watered down feedback, like, oh, just be yourself, be more nice, and girls like this. And I was like, listen, these guys are paying $500 to hear this. Like, so I'm a very straightforward person. You might be able to tell. I'm very straightforward. I don't hold back. It's cost me a lot of friendships, to be fair. But in this case, it's something that these guys really valued, because I remember, like, when I went to get my coat and leave, I thought they were going to come after me with pitchforks. But actually, they were like, oh, can we book you for a session? And I was like, what about sessions? And eventually, cut a long story short, the boss, he was like, look, that was some really amazing advice there. You just have this instinct. You understand how things kind of like, how attraction works. Like, instinctually, I was very good at it. I kind of knew game, but just, I don't know. I just didn't have the right words for it. I couldn't articulate game at that point. But anyway, the guys wanted the honest female feedback and then insight into how female desire works. So that was so he offered me a place in the company. And eventually it's like, I really did, do very well under that company. I learned a lot. And then a publishing company contacted me around 2009. Said, "Look, we want you to write a book." And it was like really big deal. Like, I knew it was going to get me so much media attention when this book came out. I knew this company, what they did for my boss and his book. So I was like, look, this is my opportunity to leave. And not just that, I started a YouTube channel at the same time, which they did. I wasn't under contract with that company, so I could do that. But they were starting to like say, look how many views she's getting. Because there was no women doing it this time, The women that were there, it was more relationship kind of advice or couples advice. So, I was like, right, this is it. And so 2010, I just said, right, I'm leaving. Thank you. My book came out. I got all the media attention rather than it going to the company I was working for. That's what I was worried about happening. I brought out a product back then. 2009, it was a DVD. I had an ebook and my actual physical published book. And I put a team together. Yeah, I was a busy bee, very ambitious. And I just, look, the channel's still doing well. I've had altogether about 75 million views. There are people out there that are, they want to know how to attract women. It's a big business.
So,
so
to follow up a little bit, what do you think would be the main difference between consuming your content on YouTube versus attending one of your boot camps or taking one of your courses?
Oh, I mean, it's just that, very detailed, instant feedback and advice. You need someone fresh eyes and professional, looking at it through professional eye, a trained eye, I should say. What are you doing wrong? This is how you fix it. And also giving them that encouragement to go and approach. A lot of guys need that to begin with. So yeah, I mean.
So do you actually have like at the boot camps, like how you started, where there's women who are there and guys will kind of approach and you kind of evaluate that?
No, so sorry. We do boot camps in America. We do 7-day mastery programs. So that's actually going in field. It's not like set up with girls in a room. That was their idea. No, we have female coaches and male coaches, and they go out and they are with the guy the whole time. They're his wingman or wing girl, whatever you want to call it, but they're the coach, and they give that feedback. It's important to get that immediate feedback. Like, I just spoke to this girl. What did I do wrong? Oh, your body language was like this. Blah 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 blah. My videos can't tell them that. I can tell them what to do with their body language, but if they're sitting there in a bubble going, "No, my body language is fine," actually, then it's not going to help them. You need a trained eye. I remember when I was having singing lessons, I thought, I'm a pretty good singer. I'm going to go in there. And she's like, no, this is what you're doing wrong. That's what you're doing wrong. I never in a million years despite how many YouTube videos I was watching, would have ever known I was making those mistakes.
Yeah, no,
So,
you make a really good point. I mean, that's one of the things that obviously I do is people come to me and I'm able to have that objective outside perspective where I'm saying this is something that you can work on, or this is something that you're doing well, and, you know, kind of give them some validation, but also work with them as far as tools.
you said that was the key word there, objective. We are so subjective with ourselves, obviously. You need someone who's objective, completely, like their only interest is to get you results. Nothing, not to buddy you, not to make you like them or anything, just to get you results, okay? And they will, and I always say to my students, you know, when you come on here, get ready. You're going to hear some truths. And usually they're prepared for that because they've already sort of parked their ego. They've already dealt with their ego. They've admitted they have a problem and they've come and signed up to the course. So we're already halfway there. So it's not usually an issue. But we do say to them, hey, listen, you know, you're going to hear some truths. This is not like, this isn't like, you know, just trying to be buddies with you and make you feel good, make you feel empowered. It's not an empowering course in that sense. Like, you'll be empowered from the results, not because we fed you crap, you know, that made you feel empowered, and then it just sort of evaporates the moment that you know, face some sort of a challenge.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So you're going, like, especially the infield stuff. That's something which I could see being really helpful because you're actually doing it, and you're having somebody who's able to then assess how well you did, versus like a Tony Robbins seminar or something like that, where you're just kind of pumping everybody up.
I mean, look, I don't like those. I mean, I'm not going to say about Tony Robbins or anything. I'm sure he's helped a lot of people. For me, it's, I think I'm just too cynical for all that stuff. You know, someone telling me I'm great. Don't tell me I'm great. Just tell me what I need to do. Thank you. You know?
Well, the difference is in the action, right? Where if you're going with somebody, first of all, just going somewhere by yourself without somebody can be challenging enough. You know, if you're planning on going to a bar to cold approach women, I think it's a lot more difficult to go by yourself compared to if you have a wingman or a wing woman. So just
I would think so, for sure.
Yeah, so just having that to get you there.
It shows that you're not a loner or in pre-selection potentially.
Pre-selection, yeah.
Yes, of course. Yeah, it does help a lot. But we also show them how to do it alone. We prepare them, you know, for when the course is finished, you know, and we treat everyone like an individual. You know, it's a bespoke, tailor-made course. The person says, you know, I want to build up my social circle, or no, look, you know, I don't care about my social circle. I want to learn how to do this on my own, going to bars, going to clubs, and we'll say, okay, this is how you do it.
Do you ever see men coming in like very honest and them actually telling you what they're looking for? Like, are there some guys that they just want a relationship, like they're looking for their wife, or the opposite, right? Where the guy is just trying to get hookups. Do you see that happening?
Our students, you mean?
Yeah, students.
Most of them want relationships. The younger guys want the hookups, but most of them want relationships, especially the ones who are divorced, especially the ones in their mid-30s. That mid-30s one's a funny one because their friends are all sort of, you know, starting to settle down, and they feel too young. They're like, you know, they feel like too old for sort of nightclubs already, and they're in a bit of a no man's land.
Yeah, you don't want to be the old guy in the club.
No.
Yeah, it's more like they suddenly are like, oh my God, you know, everyone's paired up, and I have no. But they've been kind of like relying on wingmen for so long and going out in a big group. They don't have that safety net anymore. Those are the ones who I definitely find looking for relationships. I think when guys say to me, I'm looking for a relationship, it's already like, oh God, you know, be careful with that, because you're going to send off needy signals without realizing it. See, women want a guy who's like open to a relationship, not looking for a relationship. Two different things. So we have to show the guys, like, you're open to a relationship, you're not looking for it. That's very important. It has to send that message.
Yeah. Well, that also makes sense as far as what you were saying earlier, as far as looking if she's ticking your boxes. So
yeah, that's
so you're coming from the perspective of, I'm looking for somebody that is going to be a good fit for me, not I'm going to try to mold myself to be a good fit for her just to get a girlfriend.
Yeah, exactly. Never bend your own reality in accordance with another. And people pick up on it. They don't respect it. They pick up on it. You can see when you're trying to do it, you're backtracking and stuff, and you're saying stuff just sort of, fit in to what they are expecting. People don't like it. They'd rather you just be unapologetically you. And when I mean unapologetically, I mean it sincerely, like, owning it.
Mm-hmm.
I think going back to women don't want a man to say they want a relationship, I don't know if that's always the case. I think it depends on the woman, because I think that a woman, like most women, want relationships, right? But I think that if a man says it to them, and if they take that as him seeming needy, I think that she's probably an avoidant, probably like not okay with that kind of discussion.
I need to explain this. There's two different things here that you might possibly be sort of conflating. So the first one is the guy saying, I want a relationship with you is different to the guy saying, I'm looking for a relationship.
Yes.
So if a guy that has built up connection with me and I says, I want to be with you, that's okay. That's quite romantic and fine. But it's when I go, I'm looking for, or you get the sense that, you're just fitting in a slot. There's an availability, there's, and you're fitting in there because it's just time and the place and the guy is ready to settle down. That women don't want. I think it's a good thing. Like even just saying I love you. I always say to guys, don't say I love you. Say I think I'm falling in love with you. They want a bit of that. Is this really happening kind of thing? Like you don't want to miss the big stage. Like, that's the lead up. That's the best part is I'm falling in love with you rather than I love you. So you're giving it away. Too much away.
I never heard that before. That's a really good tip.
Yeah, that is.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I can see that because you want it to feel genuine because it should be genuine, right? So in either case, I mean, if the guy is saying that to you very early on and he barely knows you and he's saying like, I want to be in a relationship with you, I want you to be my girlfriend, that's off-putting for sure because a woman will take that as, he doesn't even know me, this isn't genuine, what's he seeking? And then there's a lack of trust potentially there.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's true also. It's a good point.
Yeah, well, I think the other thing, too, is that most of the time, when I've been in relationships, it's the woman who's kind of wanted the relationship.
Mm-hmm.
And
is that off-putting?
No,
too early?
No, meaning the fact that she's the one who said, what are we type of deal. And I think that's a much better position to put in versus just continuing to spend time with her, hang out with her, and attract her that way versus, planting in her head really quickly that you're somebody I'm pursuing for the intention of a relationship. Mm. That makes sense. So, yeah, that's, I think, kind of important for guys. But I think, the biggest issue right now, because I really haven't hit on this much, Kezia, but like, do you see this time period as that we're in a dating/mating crisis?
A crisis. No, I don't see it as a crisis. I think things are cyclical. Things change, cycles take place, and cycles come and go, I should say. No, I wouldn't say it's a crisis. I mean...
Well, for example, like they did a recent poll, and they found between guys who are 18 to 30, only 30% of them are in relationships, where that same demographic for women is 60%.
Yeah.
So, and like
how does that work then? That must mean there's a lot of women who think that they're in relationships.
They're dating older guys.
Dating older, yeah.
They're dating older guys.
Sorry, yeah, of course. You said 1830. Sorry, my bad.
No worries.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of distractions for men right now. Pornography is a terrible one. Really, really against that. I'm not against pornography, I should say, but the overuse of it, I think, is really damaging both men and women. I think the whole no fat movement is really good. Good for guys, good for guys taking action on this. I think that's a big distraction. I just think hanging around on their stupid phones, looking at their phones, I think all that's a big distraction from meeting women. TikTok. I'm sorry, I know you're on TikTok. Yeah, but it's just another distraction. It's another distraction. I was saying this to someone the other day. I said, when's the last good song that's come out? a really good song. And they were like, yeah, where are the good songs? It's like you'd think during lockdown, everyone would come together and do some sort of Live Aid big song or something. Everyone was distracted on their phones. And so I honestly think like it goes further than dating. I think it's like a massive drain on everything. It's all this social media and just distractions, 400 channels, Netflix is brilliant, it's great films there. You've got all these distractions. I think it runs so much deeper than is it just about dating. There's loads of stuff that's not. No one's writing good music anymore. Not people aren't producing all this stuff because they're just on their phones twiddling about. They're not really focused. They're not doing like deep concentration on things anymore. Yeah,
I do think that it's a much deeper rooted issue, for sure.
Absolutely.
And when I was growing up in the 90s, you got bored. Mm-hmm. So that's why we used to go out and meet boys and girls. Because so a lot of people say, but boredom is, the devil makes work for idle hands. That expression, devil makes work for idle hands. So yeah, I know, I get it. But you know what? We were motivated when I was like 20, because otherwise, what else did you do? You sat there, you had 5 channels to watch. You took 1 hour to Google something on the internet. It was like, It was like you had to go out and meet people. Otherwise, you became bored. And boredom is a good motivator in many ways, okay? Boredom is excellent in some ways. It can, as long as you're productive, it can force you to be productive, boredom. Mm-hmm. But people aren't bored anymore. They want to sit there. They've got their phone constantly on, this, that. Like, I don't need to go out and meet women. Yeah. I've got Pornhub here. I've got TikTok there. I've got Netflix there. I don't even have to make a meal. I just have to order it. What do I need to go talk to people for? I'm good. I'm fine. Don't need any of that.
Yeah, no, it's a problem for sure.
It's a bad problem.
Yeah, it's a serious problem. And I think, one of the messages we just published a podcast as far as saying guys just need to get out of the house and try to get away from a lot of that stuff so that they can actually have real interactions with people. And so, kind of the message that you've been sending, I think will be helpful to a lot of guys as far as, deciding, you know what, I'm going to watch some of Kezia videos, or maybe I'm going to, sign up to one of her boot camps or whatever to get that started as far as, because there was this big concern because, there's this kind of huge incel problem right now. No one even likes to say that word because it's associated with violence and things like that. Even though it's only a tiny percentage of people who would be in that category who are actually violent. What I really believe is happening is that instead of all the incels rising up in the streets, what they're doing is they're being numbed out by all the things you just described. So they're on porn, they're on TikTok, or the big one for young guys is video games. They're just on there all day long. And so instead of, if this would have been in the 90s, there probably would have been more rioting in the streets if this was what was going on in the dating market. But because of the fact that they can just zone out on a video game for 8 hours and not even know where they are, that's probably why that's not happening.
It's frightening. It's we're going off a bit of tangent, of course, but I just I worry. I mean, my kid, I'm just like, you're not having a phone. You're not having a phone. There's no way you're having a phone. You're not. And I see it starts off with kids. I've seen my friends with their 11-year-olds and stuff, and I'm like, oh, I got her or him a phone. And these kids used to have hobbies. They used to. I feel really passionately about this. They used to have hobbies and interests, and then they just now sitting on a couch looking at a phone. It's like it was in last summer. I was like, so many of these kids haven't got a tan. Why haven't they got a tan, these kids? They've been inside looking at the phone. I was like, this is unnatural.
They haven't been outside.
They've just been on their phone. I've seen literally I've had end of friendships because of it, where it's like my kid's gone to their kid's house and my kid's like wants to play. Their kid's just like on the phone. And I'm like, can you just, you can't get involved with someone like how they parent their child. Like you can't really say anything. You're restricted. But you're kind of thinking, just can you ask your kid to put the damn phone away so they can talk to each other? And then they're not. And I'm just like, well, what's the point in doing play dates or coming over or anything like that? So I think I do. I put 100% of the blame on the parents. What they do when they're older, fine. But you know, it's like you might as well just give your kid crack. You know, it numbs them. It's the same thing. It's just it's a dummy, isn't it? This social media and these phones. It's a dummy, a pacifier. Sorry, you guys don't call it dummy. It's a pacifier. Just stick it in your mouth and shut up and let mummy or daddy also go look at their phones.
Yeah, it's
literally
the dopamine.
Take your phone so I can look at my phone.
Right.
It's dystopian. It is dystopian.
I think that there is that overall thought that, well, it's okay for now. There's always tomorrow to do the thing. And I think the same could be said for even dating, that there's so many options out there. And I think that women technically have more options that they have available to them. But men could sit back just as much and, they're intaking the information on their phone and they could think, that they can still get there. They can still get that relationship at some point without like actively doing something today. And I don't think that's the case. And I think that that's what they're running up against, because then they lack the social skills to actually make that happen when they're actively going out.
Yeah, a lot of our students are delay. And they're like, if you look at our video testimonials, they say, I wish I'd done this in my 20s, not my 40s.
Yeah, I think you bring up a good point. So I think our viewers will find good value in everything that you've talked about today, Kezia. Thank you so much for joining us.
Yeah, thanks so much for coming on.
Thank you very much for inviting me onto your show. I really enjoyed it. And I just hope that your listeners and viewers enjoy it too.